Remember those microphones. Over here. There you go. You're not in the picture now, dude. Remember, your microphones are super sensitive.
I know.
You don't have to talk into it like that.
I know.
You can be back here if you want.
When I get intense, when I get intense, I go like this.
Don't do that.
And I sound hot.
Don't do that. Let's talk to me.
I can't.
That's what these microphones are
I know.
for.
I can't. Shut up. You've been doing this.
Excuse me.
You've been doing this for. What are we at now? You've been saying you've been doing this for 40 years.
Oh, you know what? It's coming up. Oh, by the way, this is Kurre and Klapow show. Welcome to the Tony Kurre.
Oh, you put the Dallas cheerleaders. Thank you.
I did. I got. I had. I thought I had Baywatch. Oh, I do have Baywatch. I have Baywatch over here and over here. Well, we're one day a week, man. I want to make sure it's perfect for you.
You're already complaining about how I'm twitchy. Like you talk about.
You were a little twitchy the last couple of days. I know you got a lot going on. God size it.
That's right. I love that.
It's not going to end the world.
I know.
Let your peeps do their job.
I know.
Or you could be like me, just call Driscoll Gray and say extension, please. They're like, no problem.
What?
It gets me till
That's what I was trying to.
It gets me till October, because there's no penalty. There's nothing. You may have to pay a little more, but.
Well, that's what.
And now I got me another 6 months to worry about all this tax shit. That's great.
That's exactly. I didn't think that.
The first time that you use an extension, you're like, I can do what now? I can wait till October.
Exactly.
And they're like, really? They're like, well, you have to have a good reason. I'm like, okay, I'm not done. They're like, that's a good reason. So I call Millicent. She's like, I already knew. She's like, last week I already got you an extension.
Don't you have to pay a penalty though?
I don't care.
But see that
is it not worth a few extra dollars?
Well, if it's
just to take so I don't have to, because
it's a few extra dollars.
Because you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
You're trying to cram it. Today is not tax day. Tax day is coming up on Monday. You got till Monday.
Oh, that's
right. So you're freaking out. You're freaking out on the 15th.
I thought it was the 15th. Why is it? Because it's Easter?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, you got to the 18th.
What? Because of Easter?
No, because it falls on a Thursday, and because of COVID stuff, we need extra time.
Seriously?
Yeah.
You're not shitting me?
No, I'm not kidding you. You got plenty of time.
So wait, it falls on a Thursday.
Yeah.
No, but tomorrow's the 15th, so that's a Friday.
Yeah, and because when it falls on a Friday, they give you the Monday.
Independent of Easter or Passover.
Yes. And it just so happens that Easter's in the middle there.
And COVID. What a wonderful country we live in.
I know, right? All right.
You just...
I did a show earlier this week that got the most views I've ever gotten on my Facebook Live, and
Did you take your clothes off?
I titled it, I think I've figured out women. I want to get back into it. My daughter's birthday was on Tuesday. There's no possible way.
Is she 10? How old?
She turns 10. She's my last single digit.
Well, it's all over. She's almost a tween.
I know. There's no possible way, as a man, you can even try to figure out women unless you have a daughter. I've come to that realization. If you don't have a daughter, I'm not saying that you're not a great guy, but if you have a daughter, you got the inside track.
No, well, that's absolutely true.
And we've always said, because if you don't know them early, man, you ain't going to understand them late. And we always said that once you realize you can't...
Or a sister. I would say a sister, too.
I went through that.
No, you're right, because you're not...
You don't know your sister. You don't know your sister.
Well, and the problem is you're... Okay, so I'll give you one other scenario. I'll give you one. It's a little bit of a stretch. Mm-hmm. If, in some families, you got kids there's a pretty broad range between, a span between age. So if you're 8 to 10 years older than your sister, maybe. I'll give you that one. Because I think you're right. The problem is if it's a sibling, y'all are both...
The bigger your sample size of women in your life as a man is a good thing.
Yes,
if you've got like 3 sisters, then I could see where you would certainly understand that. My sisters and I are 3 years removed, and we were best friends growing up, or we were very good friends, very close. And so, so that certainly helps. But unless you're a father...
No, you're right.
Then you really don't know, and I will share some things that happened over the last few days with her.
Good.
That really kind of... And again, the old saying is, once you realize you can't figure out women, you figure them out. You figure them out when you realize there's no way you can figure them out.
Yes.
And just to be incredible.
And you have to accept that they've got us completely figured out.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Debbie Harry, Blondie, is going back on the road in a couple weeks.
Was she 80?
She's 70-something, 77, something like that. She's going back on the road, and this is what she's going to do in her spare time.
What?
I'll tell you about it coming up here in a few minutes. Also, a great photo op with Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly on a red carpet. I don't know if it was last night or the night before, but she totally dissed him. They've been all over each other. All over each other. PDA, brother. And I'm fine with it. But she totally turned the head. He tried to kiss her. It was really uncomfortable. I'm like, okay, the honeymoon is over, and I was laughing because this guy's in for some serious shit.
Yeah.
Kelly, she is high maintenance, man. So we'll talk about that. We had this Bill Maher video that I sent you this morning. He did a one-on-one with Bella Thorne, which is just like mixing oil and water. And I was like, I've got to watch this.
It had, to talk about it, we'll talk about it. It had a dad-daughter kind of feel.
Did. And she has put herself in some very compromising positions. She has openly cried on Twitter when people release photos of her naked.
Yeah.
She has left it all out there. She's young. She lets her emotions speak for her. She's made some mistakes. She's super successful. She's got her own line of whatever. We'll talk about that coming up in just a few minutes. A couple things, though. First of all, I want to mention the World Games are coming to town here in 84 days. I had a very interesting conversation with a gal out of Denver last night. Her name is Jody.
Yes.
And they're wanting Tone the Bone to be part of the World Games.
They should
thing.
be. Like, I
and
can't
I said,
believe
where you
you're
been?
not.
I've been waiting for you to call. I said, this is perfect for what we do because I don't think anyone watching this right now on Facebook Live, if I asked you to name one event in World Games, I don't think anyone could do it. I said, I'm here to inform the people. I said, I'll turn the whole Tony Kurre radio station into the World Games Tony Kurre radio station. This will be your one-stop shop to find out everything about the World Games coming up here on July 7th. It goes for 10 days, so we'll talk about that. They're having a World Games countdown tonight. We're 84 days away at Brock's Gap Brewing Company. At 6 o'clock, I'll be down there shaking some hands.
Nice.
So check us out. And also, don't forget, coming up next Thursday, April 21st, I put a video out a couple of days ago. Ed Foster and myself put a video out for his wonderful son,
Brother.
his wonderful brother, Fred. They were like a son and father. You talk about two guys that were inseparable. Fred passed away several months ago, so we're going to be having a big, it's not a benefit, it's just a memorial or a celebration of his life.
Yes.
I mentioned we're going to be drinking, laughing, and just celebrating his life in force. Coming up next Thursday at Workplay, we're going to have Eric Waters doing some live entertainment. We're going to have Cashback doing live entertainment. No cover. Bar opens at 4:30. Doors open at 4:30. Come check us out. Don't know who's going to show up. Heard from Billy Gibbons yesterday. He called my phone. I was doing some shows. He's like, hey, what's going on? I was like, not a whole lot. So he's going to be saying a nice couple of words. We had Austin Hanks do that. David Johnson will be part of that. You don't know who's going to be showing up on tape or on video. The Magic City Disco Dancers. I've never heard of them, but I hear they're fantastic. They're going to be there. So it's going to be a celebration. Again, it's free. Go down there and support Ed. I can't imagine they're identical twins.
Yeah, that's
they
right.
did everything together. There is
know.
certainly a part of his life that died when Fred passed away. That's how close they were. So we're here to support our brothers. So check that out. It'll be a work play going on next Thursday. Should be a lot of fun. So we're looking forward to that right here. Some other headlines this morning. Chris Rock's brother Kenny has challenged Will Smith to a boxing match.
Please don't.
Julian Lennon, John's son, he had with the Cindy, sang Imagine for the first time in his life the other day, and he dedicated it to the people of Ukraine. He said, I was going to do this when the world was ending, and he wasn't sure if it was going to happen during his lifetime. He's 59 years old. He said, but I'm going to sing it. A lot of people think I look like Julian Lennon. If you look
you do.
Got the nose.
Well, and you got the whatever the jowl thing going on.
I wish I looked
Were those
like
dimples before?
I'm trying to get this thing.
No, not that. That's it. I got one of those. Did you have dimples as a kid?
No.
So this is just
called old age.
Okay.
I got crow's feet on my mouth. Is what I got.
They can take care
it's
of
from
that.
smiling.
Yeah, it is.
When you smile a lot, you get those creases there.
Yeah, that's good.
And you also get these things too because you're.
They can take care of that.
So he's saying that. I thought that was interesting. Barry Manilow has COVID. They just opened up the Barry Manilow play on Broadway.
I didn't even know there's a play.
Last night. It makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Barry Manilow, a Broadway play. I mean, it's perfect.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be there, and he's got COVID. And also in the tech industry, maybe you can talk about this on Adaptive Parish next Tuesday with Dr. Alex Hubline, Dr. Josh Klapow. Great show. Airs at noon at 8. You can go to our Spotify platform. Download Spotify and check out all of our podcasts. We have well over 100 shows. They're great. You can stay on there all day and not hear the same thing twice. Elon Musk has done a hostile takeover bid for Twitter at $41 billion. He's offered 58% premium based on what their stock price is right now. It says basically, if you don't take it, you're done. They asked him to get involved. He's a shareholder.
Right.
They asked him to buy out. or be on the board. Is what
Yeah,
they
yeah.
asked him to be on the board, and of course, you don't ask Elon Musk to be on a board because he's like, be on the board.
He doesn't need
He's like, listen,
$120,000.
without me, this ain't gonna happen. Twitter needs a total overhaul, and I know exactly how to save this company.
That
And
gets
so,
into, man, we need to, oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because now you're getting into, now you're well
Be
beyond,
careful who you
it's money, this ain't about money.
Yeah.
For as much money as it is, at this level, this ain't about money.
No.
Oh.
Isn't that great?
I don't know what to think. I still don't know what to think of Elon Musk. It's more of his personality.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of these guys where you forget what he's done, good or bad. Every time I see him and I watch an interview, you ever have those people like you can't get a grasp of who they are, and I don't like that. He makes me nervous just because I feel like I can't. Is he aloof?
Could you imagine? There are several people like this. Charles Barkley's one where you can really do anything you want.
Yeah.
And it's really not going to affect anything. You know, I mentioned Gilbert Gottfried yesterday. Gilbert Gottfried was making 9/11 jokes on 9/12.
Right.
Okay. He'll make rape jokes, incest jokes. He joked about the tsunami in Taiwan. I mean, and people were like, "Dude, it's too soon. It's too soon. You can joke about it, but just not yet." You know. And if you're one of those people where you hear a joke and you're like, but you're kind of smiling, it's kind of funny. I mean, he would actively go look for that, and he did that later on in his life. And I don't know if it was out of desperation but he was filling houses. People would go see him, you know, and they would laugh and they would boo, but they would go buy his tickets. And he didn't care. You know, he lost a $75 million deal with Aflac because of some of the things he said. I don't care. I'm a comedian. This is what I do. And he was just totally transparent, totally to know and to know you could do or say anything you want and you just don't care. I don't know if that makes you insensitive. I don't know if that
hard. I mean,
there's only a handful of people in the entire world that can pull it off. Elon Musk is one of them.
Well, and there's people who we don't know about. Like, there's non-celebrity, non-famous, non-rich people who take that mindset. You know, as a psychologist, you're like, you know, we are wired to care. So somebody who says they really don't care.
Well, they don't say they don't care.
I'm sorry. Who behaves in a way.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard for me to say you really don't. You just put it all out. Like, it's hard. Now, I'm not saying that's not true. Yeah. Like, because even Charles Barkley.
It's not that they don't care.
Yeah.
It's just they're going to say whatever they feel at that moment in time.
Which you're right, because you do that you do that if you're us at work, school, and
sports.
Come
back and bite you in the ass.
It comes back all the time. You're right. You do have to get to a level where, well, it's interesting because you have to get to a level where you make the decision that regardless of what people think of you, including maybe your closest friends, you're still going to speak your mind.
Yeah.
See, like, that's the difference, because you're right. You can get over the money hump, right? If you're Charles Barkley, you don't care because no one's gonna punish you from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
So you got that one. Charles Barkley has talked about not doing things illegal, so you got that. But yeah, you can say anything you want. If they pull him off of TNT, great. Elon Musk is the same. Bezos, they're all the same thing.
Yeah.
But I just feel like most people, with the exception of few psychiatric diagnoses, are calculated, do think about what they say, or when they say things, sometimes they do regret it.
Yeah.
Now, even Charles Barkley, though, you know what? To be honest with you, Charles Barkley is more than anybody else because he'll apologize, or not apologize.
He's apologizing for past transgressions now, but he's finally, let's say, matured.
Well, he said
he's
I'm
getting
almost
to the
60.
point where he's 60. He's hitting that, and he's becoming this person now. You remember, I'm not going to be a role model. I'm not a role model. Like, yes, you are. But now he's actually at the age where he's looking back on his life and going, I did make some mistakes. I did some things, but because of that, you're talking about a guy that got a BJ in a car out in Phoenix a couple of years ago, and they took him off the air one night, and he's back the next night as like this, Charles. I mean, that may have been 10 years ago.
You can't.
It's interesting. It's a very scary proposition because if I told you today, no matter who you are, you can do or say whatever you want. You don't have to.
Right.
You don't have to yell at anybody or tell people what you feel like or anything like that. But there's not going to be any financial ramifications on your life.
I think
and you're taken care of, because financial is usually you lose endorsement.
But think about that. Think about what you just said. When you tell people that money is not going to be an issue.
Yeah.
What you say or what you do, as long as it's not illegal, you will be okay.
Yeah.
You just described the pathway to the corruption from the corruption of money. Because people get to that. No one has to tell you that.
Yep.
Like you put it out as a proposition. No one has to tell you that. You get to this point and you go, wait a minute. Doesn't matter.
No matter what you do, we go with Joe Rogan. I think he's close to that position. Bill Maher, who we're going to talk about this morning, is in a position where HBO loves the fact that he will say it like it is. And he has crossed that line where there were so many people that were critical of what he was saying, didn't like it. It got and then eventually it kind of went over the hump. They're like, this is who he is. We own up to him. Dave Chappelle, Netflix did it. We'll take you back.
Yeah.
He's gotten to the point now where you can do whatever you want.
But you gotta like.
And really, he's the person who could do it. The platform he is on is the one that's now responsible for, do we want to take this on?
That's
because
a good point.
we had a show called the Ron and Ron Show. We were looking for a morning show. I was doing mornings, and I was like, please hire a morning show, because I was doing mornings and afternoons on Classic Rock 99. And this Ron and Ron show was out there a little bit. They were kind of nasty. I saw their resume tape, and they had hundreds of thousands of people at all their gigs, and they looked like they were from Orlando. And we were dropping serious money to bring them in. And my boss basically said, listen, this is going to be a tough pill to swallow, particularly for the women in this building. They're not going to understand a lot of their humor, because it was a little blue, right? I was right up my alley. I was like, okay, this is great. This is funny. And he basically said, we're going to support this. We got to get behind this. And if you don't like it, vote with your feet. You can get out. But this is what we're doing. And particularly in Birmingham,
I was just going to say,
conservative, Christian, Baptist,
right.
this was going to be a pow, And they were still doing their show at Orlando, so they weren't going to have boots in the ground here, so they weren't going to be out to shake hands.
Oh, we don't like that here.
No, and it lasted about 6-7 months.
That's why Rick and Bubba are so long.
Yeah, and a lot of people, said, "Aha, I told you so." But it was certainly one of the situations where they're like, "Listen, this is what we do, and if you want to hire us, it's great. If you don't, fine."
Do not take that on. I hate I am who I am. I'm being authentic. I'm being transparent. Like, that doesn't work for most people.
Yeah.
And I would even argue that it doesn't work for people like Charles Barkley, Bezos, all those. Like, for all of them, there's a million of them that didn't work for.
Yeah.
Like, it's a bad platform to say, I am who I am. And again, look at Charles Barkley. He's a great example. Charles Barkley now, and again, we saw Charles Barkley when he was a kid, more or less. Charles Barkley now is becoming sort of he still speaks his mind, but he's the reflective Charles Barkley.
Yeah.
Which I don't like to see people say, I am who I am, and I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because it's for most people it's not true. And in fact, most of the time you're doing that because you do care and you're scared and you don't know how to say things in the right way. The other thing is, if you really don't care and you're impulsive and all that kind of stuff, you ain't going nowhere.
We saw that with Andrew Dice Clay, remember? I don't care. I don't care what you think.
Yeah.
He was selling out Madison Square Garden night after night.
But you see,
he's
selling it out, that's the problem.
Then he's on our Centennial Hall and he's crying.
But that's the problem. That is the problem, is when you're getting reinforced financially or power or whatever, then your brain is going, oh, this is working for me.
Yeah.
But what's working for you is not that you don't care. That's the problem. Yeah. That's not what's working for you. And for most of us, God, I see this in the workplace all the time, Tony. I see it all the time. I am who I am. I'm just going to speak my mind. I'm going to tell it like it is. That shit doesn't work.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, because when you take on that attitude, it's very weaponized. It's very aggressive. It's very defensive. You can speak your mind and still be cognizant and pay attention to what other people are feeling and thinking. And again, it works for Bill Maher, it works for Bezos, it works for Barkley. Making the assumption, here's the big assumption, and we don't know this because we don't know them. Do they care what people think? Like, we don't know.
Everybody cares to some extent.
You see what I'm saying?
Nick
Like,
Saban's a prime example of that. He'll sit there and say, I don't listen to sports radio.
Yeah.
I don't care what you think. But yet he uses the media like a master to talk to his football team. I know he cares. You know he cares.
You have to make.
We all care. We all care about that. That's why I have a really difficult time with people who walk into rooms and act like they just don't give a squat if they piss everybody off. I'm like, you want to that's human nature to want to be liked to some extent.
Well, so here is the extreme of it. The extreme that we're all familiar with. This is narcissistic personalities, right? Narcissistic personalities are the ones who believe themselves, and we believe that they don't care, right?
Yeah.
It's all about me. But what we know underlies this narcissistic personality, where it comes from, besides a little bit of weird wiring, is insecurity and fear that people don't care.
Yeah. You want to know what Debbie Harry is going to be doing on her tour bus?
I don't know.
It involves needles.
Tattoos.
She's going back on the road
Tattoos.
in a couple of
Please tell me
weeks.
it's not
I'll
heroin.
tell you what she's going to be doing. She's a heroin addict. She's an addict. She's been hooked on heroin, or she had been for a long time.
Well, she was, right?
She stopped.
Please tell me she's not
70-year-olds don't do heroin anymore. Hell, everyone's giving up heroin. I mean, what's going on here? She gave up heroin, and she said why, and it's very interesting why. You know, we talked about Keith Richards. He's like, I only did the good stuff, and I never got higher than I need to. That's why I never got addicted to it. I'm like, okay. So I'll tell you about Debbie Harry. I had my daughter's birthday. She turned 10. You know my daughter.
She's like, your daughter is
absolutely.
iconic.
She's
iconic.
She's, and I know there's a lot of.
No, I'm telling you, for every dad, every parent who loves their daughter, thinks their daughter is the best.
Yeah.
Your daughter is truly, I'm not saying she's better than anyone else, but the best word I have, she is an icon.
Yeah. She is totally transparent. She's totally fluid, super compassionate, really engaged, very loving. And I know like fathers, well, my daughter's like that. She's just an amazing, amazing girl. And incredibly humble, gets her feelings hurt. And so by seeing her through her birthday, and we had this all-pro dads thing on Tuesday too, the Tony Dungy thing at OMIS, and so I had breakfast with her, and we talked about the word was respect. We talked about respect. And I'm sitting there looking at her, and I'm just like, I'm just blown away by this girl.
Were you crying?
No.
Okay, good.
I might today. But I talked about her a little bit on Tuesday, and something clicked. I was like, oh. Now I understand why women are the way they are, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying we're trying to figure you out. Some women act crazy and do different things just to be difficult, and I do too. But I think when you're growing up, as part of our human nature, our DNA, women are much more nurturing than boys are. It's a lot easier to raise a boy than it is a girl. Period. I'm not saying it's more fun. I'm not saying it's less rewarding. I'm just saying boys pretty much do their thing. Boys don't think enough. Girls think too much. My daughter drives me crazy. She waits till I sit down before she asks me for a glass of milk. I try to treat her like a queen. I try to treat her like a princess. I hold doors up for her. I try to do everything for her. She does things on her own too. She can get up and get her own glass of milk. But I try to treat her like a man should treat his princess, because I don't want to have to kick the shit out of her first boyfriend. I want her to see how she needs to be treated. I pull her chair out for her. I do everything for her, and hopefully she's seen me do that with her mother.
Now that's interesting. You do that, but you won't do that with the other with your boys.
I don't hold chairs open for boys. I hold the door open for them.
Okay.
But I will go around the side of the car. She waits for me to make sure I open the car door for her, because that's what she should do. That's what a good man does. Whether it's his father or boyfriend.
Icon. That's great.
And so something happened where she got her feelings hurt a couple days ago. And it was from another girl. Girls can be super mean.
Girls are far.
You know this more than I do, because I got a 10-year-old. Girls can be mean, super.
Well, because they're mean in a much more sophisticated, social way.
Emotional, cutting to the bone.
Jeez.
Where guys will just
They'll
punch each other, beat each other up, and the next day we see you on the playground, it's all good, we're through it. You know, guys have fights all the time, and we're good, we move on.
Girls are stealth. It's much more stealth. It's much more new.
There's thought that goes into it. I mean, just look at all the girls who have gotten back after their boyfriends who have cheated on them. I mean, there's some thought that goes into this crap, right? I mean, we're going to set this up, and we're going to set this up, and this is going to hit, and da-da-da. And it's like...
Well, and let me say this. Let me just real quickly. This is what makes women more sophisticated, more complex. You said, we're going to do this, we're going to do... A lot of it is intuitive.
Yeah.
Like, the way you described it is how a boy would have to do it. I'm going to write down my note first. I'm going to say this. I've watched it. It just flows.
Girls are more organizational. They're stealthy, and certainly in a good way, too. Women run this world, period. I mean, they do. And they've got something that boys are really, really interested in that helps run the world as well. But by seeing her and seeing her, what she's going through, and her emotional highs and lows, it also makes women or girls much more vulnerable. I almost look at it from a cat standpoint. Girls are cats, boys are dogs.
Yeah.
Boys are kind of like, let me sniff your ass and I'll go out by a tree and I can sit around all I do nothing. Where cats always constantly have to be on the lookout. You know, I should talk about Dr. Rab Stewart. I'm recording Dark Side of the Pooch today. I should ask him about this. Where they're constantly cognizant of what's going around. They're a little bit more twitchy. They're a little bit more emotionally connected, but disconnected in that they will react faster than maybe a male will. And I think because of that, they're much more difficult to understand as they get older. And I think a lot of that has to do with us. Mm-hmm. I think that's why you see women stay in bad relationships. I think that's why women love bad boys at the beginning. We'll talk about the Machine Gun Kelly and the Megan Fox thing. He's screwed. He is totally screwed. The honeymoon's over there. And so that just and this may be just a little piece of the understanding of why women are the way they are. And I think in most cases, because a lot of times a woman will be mad at you or will be acting a certain way or reacting to something, overreacting to something, drama. We always talk about drama. Drama will come into play. I'm like, dude, chill out.
Well, it's because you don't.
Just
we
chill.
Don't get it.
That's when they're asking you for your support.
Right.
You don't have to. You don't have to
chill out. Yes.
Just
stop. Right.
Just nod your head, try to understand. I support you. You don't have to verbally support her, or you don't have to stand behind her, but just try to get her through that moment.
Because you can't. Because most of us cannot. I don't want to say cannot, because I'm always bashing on us, but at the same time, I think we have the ability to raise up much higher than we sort of put ourselves. When you don't understand what's going on, support them through it. Mm-hmm. Don't pretend you understand. Don't try to understand in the moment if you can't.
Yes.
And if you don't understand, it's okay to say, I'm a little lost here, but because I think that's one of the problems is as guys, you're right. Level set. Because of social, because of physiological, genetic, we are definitely less complex socially. But it doesn't mean that we can't raise it up and learn. But you're right. But we
could figure that out if we were willing to put the time and effort into it.
Well, that's exactly why. And in any given moment, I think a lot of times what we're doing is instead of owning up that, okay, I'm not following this, we're either trying to play along or, and we do this defensively, I do this, we mansplain. What's really going on is, let me tell you, I hear what you're saying, but let me explain to you. And oh my God, like in this, it's always been a problem. In this day and age, don't ever, ever, ever mansplain. You want to get yourself into trouble more quickly with anyone from your 10-year-old daughter to your mom. Do not mansplain.
And we're seeing that on film. I get a New York Post just because I think it's a lot of New York stuff, obviously, but it's got all kinds of different stories. It can take you 3 hours to go through their website. But there's always these pictures of things, and I usually don't even look at them as celebrities, the celebrity side, of Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly on the red carpet. I don't know if it was last night or the night before. They're all over each other. PDA. I look at him and I'm like, obviously he's incredibly talented. He just got off the road. She's kind of I don't want to say a has-been, but had she not been with him, I don't know if she'd be where she's at. She's done a couple movies. She was super hot about 10 years ago. And so he is trying to kiss her on the red carpet, and she totally disses him, like totally turns the face. It wasn't a mistake. It was letting him know she's pissed off about something.
Yeah, which is.
And he had this really, he's always got this
Yes.
look on his face, and you're like, you guys are weird. You're fucking weird. It's just really bizarre. It's just
right.
And it's okay. If that's what you guys are into. Just totally bizarre, weird. They're doing photo shoots with each other, half naked, and they're hanging upside down, and they're feeding each other, and it's kind of like, okay, she totally dissed him while the lights were on, and he got this look like he was a 12-year-old again.
I was just going to say...
He's got this smile on his face. I'm like, dude, that ain't a good look for you. Because he lost every bit of cool I've ever seen in Machine Gun Kelly.
He instantly went from here
It ripped his walls down and just totally exposed him. And you could tell he was hurt. He was like, hey, honey. I mean, he was kissing her ass. And she was having none of it.
He was every one of us.
Yeah.
That happens.
Oh, man. That is the worst feeling in the world for a guy when a woman just totally disrobes you in public. And again, when you're in public and you're on a red carpet, you like to think, hey, can we talk about this later? Let's put on the good. And maybe he was trying to go, but their PDA's been out there. So it's not like they don't kiss each other all the time.
No, it was a statement. It was a clear... Because again, this almost has Will Smith similarities.
Yep.
You could talk about it was impulsive. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's not. When you're on the red carpet, I don't care how many times you've been on the red carpet, and I've never been. You have. Have you been on the red carpet? Yeah. Okay, I have. But you are aware of your surroundings.
Yeah.
It's not like you're oblivious to your surroundings. That's why I'm saying it's like Will Smith. Well, it was an impulsive. Okay, it wasn't impulsive because you were there. 4 billion people are watching. Mm-hmm. So the red carpet thing, she could have done. We saw Melania Trump. We saw Melania Trump do it in a much more subtle.
Was she holding his hand or was she not? Was she the one pushing his hand?
This was not that.
No, she was totally dissing on him, and he looked like he was like. Had this weird look, and I was like, "Dude, who are you? I mean, you are so uncool right now." And she had the.
You're a man.
She had the resting bitch face going on. She was not having any of it.
She just brought your ass down.
Men don't do that to women, do we? Like, if I'm really first of all, guys don't really get angry with their wives.
Yes, they do.
I mean, they do, but
yes, they do.
But not.
We do impulsive. So here's what the difference we do. It goes back to the girl talk. We're not stealth.
Yeah.
We say stupid shit.
Yeah.
We'll throw out we'll criticize them. We'll say something public. We usually what we do, I mean, God forbid there's no physical part, but what we do is we say something. We cut them down. We make a derogatory comment towards them. That is about the best of what we do. Not the best. The most intense when we're doing it. We're not stealth.
Yeah.
We don't pull back. We don't do subtleties. We say it. We're like, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
And we do, and then and in public we do it, and we do that, and then we go. Oh God.
But do you see dudes diss women on the red carpet? I've never seen that.
Diss in what way?
Like if
that?
she went to kiss him and he turned his, you never see a guy turning his face ever. Women, man, that's where women.
Because we're not paying attention.
They like use that.
We're not paying attention.
Yeah.
We as a gen. Well, but you know what is interesting? I'm not going here, but I'm going here just a little bit. We we do a lot of broad brush when you and I talk.
Sure.
But there is a range within both genders. I mean, you definitely see men who are much more attuned to that kind of stuff than other men. They do think more along those lines. We also see women who are more sort of just traditionally male clueless.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. You and I are talking about very sort of stereotypical male-female, but look at the men that you know and look at the women that you know. You will see them sit on that whole range. There are guys who are more sensitive, not sensitive firm guy, who are more adept at reading women. It's interesting because a lot of times those are the those are the Rico Suave.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the guys who, you know why? because they understand it. And then there's a lot of us guys who are like, what happened? Why did that? What? You know, we're running around going, we don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, if Machine Gun Kelly knew what was pissing her off, and maybe he has no clue. Maybe this is one of those women things where she was vulnerable and she just like.
Or maybe
she clumped him in with every other man.
Well,
you know,
or it was
men are
3
pigs.
days ago.
You know, it's like maybe
it was 3 days ago. He didn't do the laundry.
Yeah.
He didn't
and
do the
just
laundry.
totally dissed him on the red carpet. And again, whenever I was out, and I'm certainly not red carpet like they are, but I always tried to be like, if we'd have an argument before we were going out, we were going to a church social or something, I would always assume that at least we should be unified. We're together. We're going to be out tonight. Let's be unified. We can talk about this later.
Right.
And a lot of times women can't do that, most guys, because we're probably on the wrong side with something we've done.
Well, no.
In this particular case, man, she put it out
No,
there.
you know what most women do? They do play it civil, right? And we think, because we're idiots.
It's okay.
Oh, look.
She's over it already.
Yeah, look at us. Look
One
at us.
good night of drinking and having
Look,
fun
we're
at
going to go
church.
to the Vanity Fair party. It's all going to be okay.
Yeah. We're going to be on Fox 6 here in about an hour at 9:35
I'm going
this
off,
morning.
by the way.
What are we talking about?
About parents hitting umpires.
Okay, there you go.
Oh, I'm going off. I'm you dumbass. Live your dream through your kid.
Should be
Get
no reason
over
why
it.
you shouldn't.
What?
There should be no reason why you shouldn't go off. I mean, we talk about things where there's like another side. There ain't
There ain't no
to
other
this.
side of this, right?
Debbie Harry is taking up knitting. She's going to have needles on her
Good
bus.
for her.
She is a 76, previously battled a heroin addiction. It was one of the biggest hellraisers in music, but she's changed her ways over the years and revealed she's bringing her knitting needles and yarn with her when she returns the road. She said, I'm curious about how I'll respond to being back on the road since I haven't done it in a few years. I've had to change my behavior over the years, and behavior is a very hard thing to change, she said.
That was very insightful.
She went on to say, that's what I do. I'll be bringing my knitting needles with me. The Heart of Glass hit maker previously revealed she quit drugs. You know why?
Because she liked knitting.
Because she found obtaining them was a drag.
Very Keith Richards like.
She insisted she didn't need to go to rehab to get clean, as she simply got tired of the effort it took to find the sources of narcotics. She said, drugs are a funny thing. The thing that drove me away from taking them was having to acquire them. What a drag that was. It was kind of a full-time occupation. What a waste of time. It became unpleasant. Luckily for me, I was able to handle the withdrawal. I don't believe
We need
that.
a book. I swear to God.
Debbie Harry had a hard time finding drugs
We
on the
need
road. Are you serious?
a book of quotes of old rockers, right? We make the criteria like you got to be over 65, and then you have quotes and little excerpts from like Debbie Harry,
Yeah.
Keith Richards. Like those are iconic quotes.
Now, I think what happens here is when you talk about someone who's in their 70s and they finally quit drugs, you ran out. You didn't die,
You're right.
thank goodness, and you just ran out. I'm not saying you finally woke up or you had an epiphany or you finally matured at the age of 75. You just got tired. Your ass just got tired of doing drugs, and a lot of people, I kicked the habit. You really didn't kick the habit. You just ran out. You hit the end of the road. You're 78 years old, 77 years old, and you know that the next toke or the next time you do a line, it may kill you. And so that's enough. When you're in your 60s, you still got some room. You're still looking for it. You still got your resources. You still have, and maybe something's happening in your brain too, where you're starting to lose some of your brain matter to the point where maybe that addictive property is not there anymore. But for the most part,
Stevie Nicks.
I don't know of any. I don't think we're going to hear of Mick Jagger having an overdose on fentanyl in '83. He's too tired. And I think,
that's what makes it,
So this doesn't really count as like rehabbing yourself. You just ran out of time.
Well,
you
that's
just
what
ran
makes
out.
it
You're
tragic.
90 years old. You ran out.
That makes it tragic, right? Because that's the tragedy when they are, I mean, obviously the Kurt Cobains were, 20, 30.
Yeah.
But it is a tragedy when they're 50 and 60.
Taylor Hawkins.
Yeah, because this is a weird analogy, but if you could have hung on till you got old, like Debbie Harry, you would have ran out.
Well, and Taylor had that wake-up call when he OD'd in 2003, so he had that, hello.
But it wasn't...
You almost died here.
Yeah.
Time to check it back. You don't have to stop if you don't want to. You can do whatever you want. But you need to pull it back a little bit. And, it was unfortunate. She also said she's much more health conscious, much like Mick Jagger is, working out twice a week, eating a diet of mainly raw foods. She thinks getting older is horrible, and she has some dissatisfaction with her life. Asked if she's happier now or when she was in her 20s. She said, there's still a lot of dissatisfaction and hopelessness in my life. It varies by day by day.
Jeez, she sounds depressed.
She does sound depressed.
You know what she could do? I don't know. Like, she could make well, she's already got money. I don't know. How rich is Debbie? You think Debbie Harry is rich? Or she's one of those ones where we think she's rich, but she's not as rich as we think.
I mean, I'm sure she's fine.
Because she could sell her knitting at concerts.
Oh, no doubt.
Instead of
She's knitting concert shirts. She's knitting the jersey shirts. That's a great idea. I love that.
And you can sell it for a premium.
Oh,
We're going to use it on adaptive pairs.
Oh, yeah, I'd buy that. I'd buy that. All right, talk about one of our great sponsors here, and then we're going to get into this Bill Maher story.
I'm going to tell you about Driscoll Gray, because that's why I was late this morning, because I'm talking Driscoll Gray. And John Gray is truly one of the most amazing financial advisors I have seen. He has navigated his clients through, I mean, you talk about ups and downs in the markets, changes in perspective about saving for school and college debt. I mean, that's a whole, it's not a new thing, but it's a big thing now. And the great thing about working with John Gray from Driscoll Gray is that he pays attention to all of those things. He's not just paying attention to what the stock market is. He's not just paying attention to what the different sectors are. He's also paying attention to how that interacts with your life, with your savings, with your debt, with your taxes. And so he's taking he's taking the real snapshot of your financial situation, not just, well, this is how much I have for retirement. I've worked with him for, now we're going on 15 years. You need to work with him too. Go to his webpage, driscollgray.com. He's got great market insights. He's one of the most approachable guys I've ever met. And he works with people all over the country. So if you're watching us, if you're hearing us from another state, you do not have to be local. He is knowledgeable about the different issues and different state laws. He is the best. John Gray from Driscoll Gray.
Last night we did Live Wire Wednesday at 8 o'clock. We did our top 13 most requested songs that we've done over 3 years. By the way, our third anniversary is going to be coming up here in a couple weeks. We've been on the air for 3 years, and so we'll have a big celebration. But we took our top 13 songs, brought to you by Southern Precision Staffing for all your staffing needs, construction or otherwise. 205-682-2828. They do a wonderful, wonderful job. And Highway to Hell was our number one song. It was great last night. Thanks to Southern Precision Staffing for helping us out. Bill Maher was in town a couple of weeks ago. I love Bill Maher. I don't always agree with his ideologies. I know he's incredibly liberal. I know he's a dope smoker. There's some things he does that I'm not too crazy about. But I love the fact that he is willing to say whatever he wants and whatever he believes in. Again, I may not like it,
right?
But I respect the fact that he's in a place in his life where he's going to say whatever he wants, and I think it's funny. And I think that people that get really riled up over it just need to chill out.
Because he loves
it's
that.
Bill Maher, for God's sake.
But he loves that.
He loves that. He's in the business of pushing buttons, and a lot of times I truly believe that he believes what he's saying, and that makes it even more, from my standpoint, more respectful.
Do you see him as do you consider him? I mean, I know we've seen this like Stephen Colbert and some of those shows. Comedian.
Oh yeah.
But not.
I mean, he was a comedian. I mean, that's how he got his start.
Yeah. So comedian, not. Something like George Carlin, like comedian / social commentator.
Sure, yeah, I think he's moved into that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's not. He is a comedian.
Yeah, I mean, you watch his show on HBO. Every time I watch it, I'm stuck to it.
Yep.
He usually has, and he brings on people to debate, which I really enjoy, and he doesn't always cut them down. He wants to hear the other side. He may not change his views after hearing the other side, but he wants to hear the other side.
He put him in the same boat as Joe Rogan.
He was just on with Joe Rogan. Was it yesterday or the day before?
Yes. Yeah, like if you're Joe,
they were hammering on everybody, and I sat there, and it's causing a major ruckus, and I'm sitting there laughing because I'm like, why are people so upset about this? Why are you so? Just because you don't agree with their viewpoints, but it was interesting to listen to. I'm like,
because they were hammering on this. That's a great one. When you put people who have. They were hammering on everybody.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't
the
pick
medical world,
but you couldn't pick a side. You couldn't pick we want to pick a side.
Yeah.
And I think that was so great about that one. It's like, wait, I'm with Joe Rogan. No, I'm not.
Over the last 3 to 4 years, I've had this transformation in my life where I've tried to become more compassionate and understanding of what other people are going through. And maybe it's because I feel like I've kind of gone through a lot in the last 2 or 3 years, been through a divorce, lost my job, started a new business, broke, all these different things. And so when I hear about other people's problems, and they'll even say, I know it's the first world problem, but I'm like, then I don't want to hear about it, But I also understand that their problem, while I look at it like, okay, it may mean a lot more to them based on where they are in their life.
Crisis is in the eye of the beholder.
Maybe they haven't ever been through that. They don't know how to handle it. I'm like, dude, that's happened to me a million times. Get over yourself. So rather than say that, I will tell someone to God-size something, or I will try to be supportive rather than hammer on them and say, that ain't a problem. What, why are you losing sleep over that? I will say, think about all the wonderful things you have, how well you're respected.
You're really good at that. You should be a priest.
Think about all the things that and again, sometimes it's better to look at other people's lives and go, I got it pretty good. A lot of people don't like to do that because you're in a weird kind of way. Envy plays into it. You're actually feeling better about yourself because someone else is doing much worse. But I'm used to the old eat your dinner. There's people in Africa starving kind of thing. You're like, okay.
Listen, it's called downward social comparison.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, as long as you have to be careful you don't go to it works.
Yeah.
It is a good reality.
Yeah. So there's a lot of kids, including Bella Thorne, who I can look at her life and go, listen, you got nothing to complain about. And I don't know sociology. I don't know where her brain is. I don't know what her depression is. I don't know what her medical situation is. But she's out there. She's worth millions of dollars. She's been super successful. She's posted pictures of herself. She's put herself in some really compromising positions and been torn down for it. And I'm like, well, then why'd you post this picture? Why'd you do this if you didn't want people to comment on it? You know what you're dealing with. And so she deals with a lot of anxiety. And so she was on this, it looks like they were having drinks and they were smoking dope together, Bill Maher and Bella Thorne, which was like oil and water together, like this is going to be really good. And Bill's like, what is up with you kids and anxiety these days? What the hell do you have to be anxious about?
But let me say this. I watched
this is right out of the box.
No, but he started his open comments. It had compassion. Like I was like, it almost sounded like I care about you. I'm worried why y'all are so anxious.
He wanted to understand.
But there was it was like a nanosecond of that. And then it went to.
And to your point, I think it was a great point. It's a little father-daughterish. What the hell's wrong with you? Look at your life. Look how good you have it. And she was having none of it. And they were kind of going back and forth. And it was the first 3 minutes of the interview. I can post it if you want.
Yeah. It was.
And when he said, what do you got to be so anxious? She said, the world.
Yep.
And he said, I find this to be a disingenuous argument because your generation doesn't even know what's going on in the world.
See?
So how can you be that effing concerned about what's going on in the world? I know what's going on in the world. I should have the anxiety. I follow it. You kids don't follow it. You don't know what the F's going on in the world. What are you so upset about?
Oh.
Then he went on and said something that I think is really important, and this is what I really want to get into. And listen, I realize there was an Archie Bunkerish moment there for him. There are a lot of kids that don't know what the hell is going on. I
agree, but he's too...
Your children are...
But he's too smart. Like, I was with him, and then he lost me when he went there.
Well, and the thought process is when you're in your 20s, I tell my kids, when they see the war in Ukraine, I'm like, listen, let the adults handle this. Oh. My 9-year-old, 10-year-old.
Oh, well, you're 10.
My 17-year-old, not so much, because now I'm like, you guys talking about this because you're the next generation. But he's still too young to handle anything like that. He can have his thoughts on it, he can debate it, he can talk about it, figure things out, but he's just on the cusp of, manhood where you're going to have to start making... And I said, we got this handled. You live your life. You concentrate on your schoolwork. You concentrate on your friends. You concentrate on the good things in your life. You take care of the things you can control. Do the serenity prayer. Control what you can control, and these things will work these things out. He said, I also find the pettiness on social media. Your generation is so effing harpies on each other. I don't know how you deal with it. Yeah, that would give me anxiety too. We're in and this goes for adults too. We're living now in a society where it's a look at me society. It is I deserve the society. There is no self-deprecation. There is look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me. How many followers do I want to be an influencer? I'm posting pictures of my dinner to see how many people I get back. It's look at me, look at me, look at me. And by doing that, you're not looking at other things. And I think social media, and we know this from a scientific standpoint, the Instagram study that came out, where a third of all girls on Instagram are depressed because they're on Instagram. It wears you out. And it's kind of like, I look at a Bella Thorne who's got everything in the world at her feet. I mean, she really does. And so it's hard to feel for her. But I'm trying to be compassionate. I'm trying to understand where she's at. And I'm like, okay, I don't understand your pain or your anxiety. But I also understand, and you find this out. There was a study that they did, I forget who it was. I think it was Yale, where they took 3 individuals and they said, do you want to be influencers? And they said, yes.
I remember this study.
Remember this?
Yes.
Yes. We're going to make you influencers. And we're going to see how you react to it.
Yeah.
And they built up
Yep.
their Instagram accounts. They had them do what an influencer had to do in order to get those followers. They made them go through the work. It's not like they just bought them an account with 1 million followers and said, go for it.
Right.
They said, this is the life of an influencer. 2 of them said, oh, hell no. I don't care how much money it pays. I don't care if it's $100,000 a month. I'm not doing this crap.
Yeah.
The third one took on to it and created their own thing. And I think now they sell like a clothing brand. Which is, they use their social media accounts to sell this clothing, but it's not about being an influencer just on social media. And this kind of goes back to my kid not wanting to drive the minivan to school. Mm-hmm. Kids these days are much more cognizant of the idea of what people think of them. And it's super important. We talk about peer pressure growing up. Oh my gosh, man, we had it so good. I mean, we get bullied. We had things happen to us as well. But I mean, now with social media,
Yes.
it's just, and that was one of the things that happened to my daughter on Tuesday that hurt her feelings. She got on a chat with a bunch of girls. There were girls from other schools on it, and they were throwing teases at each other, and someone said something, and I'm like, why do you put yourself in a position?
Because it's there.
Yeah, I know it's there, and some of her friends were on it, so she got off. She tried to get off the chat. I said, you don't need to deal with that.
But
A lot of insecurity plays into that.
Yeah.
I said, whenever someone makes fun of you or bullies you, they have their own insecurities. Her brother does it to her sometimes. I said, that's because he's insecure. I said, don't let that bother you. I can't, really don't need to be.
But it's there. I agree with you.
Yeah.
But this would be if you dial this back to Bill Maher and our generation.
Yeah.
It would be as if our parents said, don't let the teasing, they're just teasing you.
Yeah.
Don't let it bother you.
Yeah.
And you went to school and you're waiting to see if they were going to tease you. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. Only the problem is when it happened to us, it was at school, maybe on the telephone, maybe somebody said something. But imagine if that same vibe, I try to tell this to parents all the time because, what do you have to work? Just get off social media. Again, that would be saying when you grew up, just don't worry about what the kids say.
Yeah.
We do care about what the kids say. And so the problem with social media and the problem we have with the sort of the crippling anxiety, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's all the time.
And maybe what we should be telling them is how do you deal with it? Because it's going to happen.
Thank you.
It's going to happen. I used to have a guy call my show every day and scream at me, you suck. At 5 o'clock, man. I knew it was him, and I'd answer, Tony Kurre, you suck. You're terrible. You're horrible. And it used to tear my heart out. And I knew it was coming every single day. You're going to have people in your life that want to cut you down for whatever reason, and it's going to happen.
You can't you can't say.
It's like telling someone to relax.
Yes, it is.
You can't tell them to relax. You just have to show them how to try to possibly
do
it.
And that's
build them up enough that they know that there's people out there that are going to
That's the only thing I didn't like about Bill Maher. Because when Bella Thorne was saying, I have crippling anxiety from the world, and it doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter how much money you have. And particularly if she's talking about, and I think she has, if you have an anxiety disorder, if you have depression, I mean, particularly anxiety or depression, it's got nothing to do. Having money and fame and everything doesn't offset that. Now, in some ways, it can contribute to it. Mm-hmm. But that's what I didn't like what Bill Maher was saying. Is that I don't understand your generation. Well, you know why you're anxious? Because everywhere around you, you're scrolling through TikTok. It's not just being teased. It's scrolling through TikTok and looking at the Ukrainian war and looking at
And seeing your pictures.
and seeing your pictures and listen and looking about COVID and learning about shutdowns and learning about world events. I mean, imagine, you know, a lot of times when you go to sleep and you dream and you have the dreams are like little bits of pieces of just blah, 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 and you kind of wake up and you're like, like that was, that's what social media is. And I think that's a lot of times where parents, and we forget, it's not just scrolling through being teased. When you also roll in there, scroll through the world events, scroll through social isolation and COVID and the economy and jobs and college and the cost of college. And again, adults say, oh, you have nothing to worry about. Dude, if that's all in your face,
Yeah.
you got a hell of a lot to worry about. And in fact, if you're younger, particularly if you're in your teens to 20s, I mean, let me just say, I'm in my 50s. If that was me in 20s, I'd be the one with crippling anxiety.
Yeah. It's a little. It's obviously a lot more difficult to hear a celebrity go through these anxieties because a lot of those things you mentioned, school, she don't have to worry about. Money, she don't have to worry about. There's a lot of different things that happen.
No, she has to worry about pictures.
But what she should be doing is she is an influencer.
Yes.
You can change the world. Bella Thorne can change the world.
Yes.
Piece by piece. You're not someone that's going to Oak Mountain Intermediate School and you have no say. Maybe you could run for, your class president. Maybe you can start making moves. But I always tell my kids, again, control what you can control. We're here to love each other and help each other.
That's a good lesson.
Do the best you can in your world, win your box, as Nick Saban would say, and then start moving forward. But I said, if you're worried and have all these anxieties about all these different things, and again, I'm not talking about a clinical or medical issue, but you're worried about what's going on in the world. And yeah, there's sometimes, and you even went through it a couple of years ago, where you're like, what the F is going on in this world?
Right.
And you just were like, I'm done.
Yep.
Then you've got to do what you can in your own little world.
That's a good.
To try to create a positive vibe. And there's a lot of people that do that. And it starts with, again, holding a door open. How are you doing? Thank you for your service. Yep. We threw that quote out this morning that wasn't from Joan Jett. It's not what you say or what you do. It's how someone makes you feel. Maya
Angelou. Yes.
That is the quote of the day. It's not what you do. It's not how you do it. It's not your job. It's how you make people feel. And you can make an incredible impression just today by doing that. We all can. And I think a lot of people are just kind of shunned in. They're afraid what people are going to say or think about us. And we're afraid to do those things. And it's much more difficult as a child. I consider Bella Thorne. Again, our lives were so much more simpler. They were.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Because we didn't have the internet and social media and stuff coming at us left and right, and we had to wait till 5 o'clock to make our phone calls. Life wasn't coming at us constantly. We had time to meditate.
Well, particularly on anxiety. I mean, listen, just think about what makes us physiologically, what jacks up our nervous system physiologically. Just from the most primal, basic thing. When there's lots of stimuli coming at us, right? Because we're designed to pay attention to things.
I like where you're going here.
Right? Yep. So let's get away from let's get away from my generation, your generation. We know that we are designed to orient to things because that's what keeps us alive. And we're scanning. Okay, look, there's a tiger over there. I need to pay attention. That's just a puppy dog. I'm fine, right? So we're doing all that. And when you exponentially increase that, again, I'm using this a little bit, just it's kind of like ADD, right? It's a squirrel. I'm looking at everything. Now, our brains evolve. We adapt, right? So our kids are much, even with whatever the issues with anxiety, our kids are much better at sort of taking that in and filtering some of that out. That being said, not all kids are great at that. Yeah. And that is a recipe for nervous system overload. And when you have nervous system overload, you get distress and anxiety. And that's this is what gets me mad about Bill Maher. Don't go, you got nothing to be anxious about. It's a physiological thing. Your nervous system is jacked up. And in fact, for so many people, when they talk about crippling anxiety, they don't just talk about, I think I feel worried. They talk about hands shaking. They talk about feeling on edge because it's your nervous system that is jacked up. And listen, if it's jacked up and stays that way long enough, it has a hard time coming back down.
Yeah.
This is a problem with PTSD. This is a problem with generalized anxiety disorder.
Just be careful because a lot of people create that anxiety for themselves. And I think, and Bella Thorne, she would tell you, she created this world she lives in. She had a lot to do with it. She's super successful. She's beautiful. She's posted all these different things. She's created this monster that she lives in that provides for her and has created this fame for her. And right now she seems like she's going through it. Andrew Agassi went through it. Michael Jackson went through it. I didn't realize their fathers pushed them through and stuff like that. But they created this world that sometimes you just don't want to be in. Michael Jordan hanging out in the hotel rooms for 3 or 4 nights in a row because he didn't want to talk to anybody because he just wanted to get away from the cameras and everything. It's the world you created. But in the biggest case, I would assume in 20 years, when she looks back on it,
well, she's also 20.
Yeah, she'll look at things a lot differently. Yeah.
Charles Barkley.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing I didn't like. Again, what I didn't like about what Bill Maher was saying was, your generation has. She's 20 or 20s or 25.
Yeah.
Developmentally, it is hitting her different than Bill Maher because you lived through more stuff. Mm-hmm. So you talked about it. So just because you lived through more stuff, that doesn't mean that she shouldn't be going through it. And in fact, Bill Maher, if we would have put you in the same situation in your 20s as she is, you may have had crippling anxiety.
Yeah.
Just do not pass judgment on what somebody else is feeling and why they're feeling. You can pass judgment on their thoughts, on their positions, and all that kind of stuff. You do not know what's going on, and you can't go there because you have no idea. And on top of it, be careful what you're saying. Like, and this is not karma, because that shit's going to come around and it can bite you and me.
Download the Tony Kurre Radio app. It's Kurre with a K, Kurre. Download the Tony Kurre Radio app. It's free. It takes you about 5 or 6 seconds. Android, Apple, you can get it anywhere. We're also on Alexa and Google Play. You can listen to classic rock and roll 24 hours a day. And then as you're listening, you're going to hear some great shows. We have 10 different shows, including the Kurre and Klapow Show, Tony Kurre Live, Adaptive Parish with Dr. Alex Hublon and Dr. Josh Klapow on Tuesdays, Dark Side of the Pooch on Mondays, Wednesday Mission Minded with Michael Coleman. We're recording a show today, Live Wire Wednesday, brought to you by Southern Precision Staffing. Blues Almighty, a brand new show. Talked to Billy Gibbons yesterday. We're going to have that show going on tomorrow. We have the Brother Kane show, and of course Damon Johnson of Brother Kane. He does that show on Fridays, and also When in Rome with Stuart Rome from the Woodhouse Day Spa, birmingham.woodhousespas.com, birmingham.woodhousespas.com. Fantastic show. We do that on Friday, the Classic Hip Hop Show. You can hear all those shows by going to Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Hundreds of shows listen to, and of course listen to them live here on Tony Kurre Radio. Don't forget to join us again next Thursday, April 21st, as we remember the life of Fred Foster. You coming?
I'm trying
for a little bit. I'm going to host that thing for a few hours. That's going to be down at Workplay. Thanks to Tommy Williams for putting that big shindig on. Should be good. And we'll be on Fox 6 in about 30 minutes talking about parents beating up umpires in refs. We'll talk about that. We'll get into that coming up in 30 minutes. Have yourself a wonderful day, and thanks for watching.